Hey, Dr. Wendy here. PharmD, taking definite ownership of that doctorate. I earned it. I worked my butt off for that. I just wanted to come by and say hi. How are you today? Are you having a good day? Was your weekend as good as mine? I don't know if Instagram knows, but Facebook knows I had some issues this weekend. I ran out of heat, or it quit working. So yeah, I had woke up Friday morning and it was cold in the house. Yes, I have I can't eat without getting something on me. I'm just a human. Come on now. Anyhow, so I woke up Friday morning. It was cold. And Thursday afternoon, it was kind of weird. It was like the heater, I wasn't sure it was keeping up. And it wasn't, because it wasn't on. I live, so far, if you know me a little bit, you know I don't like being cold. I hate being cold. I absolutely hate being cold. And so I live in a little bitty, it's not really little, I guess, it's 1,000 square feet or so. It's a 120-year-old house, which I love, but it is, and it has a furnace. And so in the winter, we have a furnace in the living room. I'm sitting in the kitchen currently. That comes from the floor, and it's like fire right underneath it. Like, think of your grill. I know some people don't have furnaces. It's not electric. If the power goes out, it works just fine, which is great. But if the pilot light goes out, it stops working. And I just want to tell you guys about my story, because it was challenging and fun and irritating and angry. I was all of these things. So my furnace is downstairs, and it's right behind the brick chimney that I have. I have a chimney that goes from the basement through the house all the way up to the roof, of course, but I have no fireplace because it was closed up. Maybe there was something needed to be repaired. I don't know. So I just have a wall where there's a fireplace, and in front of the wall, I have a grate in the floor where my heat comes up. So downstairs, behind the chimney, there is a giant metal framework that goes up to the floor. And there's a fire that starts here, kind of like a grill. And there's this tiny little spot that's supposed to be a pilot light. And a pilot light is supposed to have a little flame on it to keep this little thing here burning. Well, so the pilot light is right here. So pretend these two fingers are the pilot light, and there's fire coming from them. And this is called, wait for it, I've learned so much, a thermocouple. And the fire from the pilot light heats the thermocouple up, and the thermocouple stays really, really hot all the time, so that the system knows that natural gas is coming in, and I don't end up gassing myself and dying, which is great. When the fire from the pilot light is no longer heating up the thermocoil, there's a copper wire that goes around and senses to a, I don't even know what, but if it's not hot, no gas comes through. No gas, no fire, no heat. Which is fine. That was easy. It's easy to understand. Thankfully, I absolutely love my neighbors. The gentleman across the street, his father I asked him what he thought I could do. Can you look at it to see if I can figure out how to turn my furnace back on? And his dad was there. And his dad, my God, was so sweet. He came over, he looked at my furnace downstairs, which I'm short, and he's not very tall, but he's not, but I'm really short, so the ceiling in the basement is only 6 feet tall. That's as high as it gets. And so I told him to watch his head, and he didn't bump his head, which is great. So he comes down, he looks at my furnace. We discover pilot light's not lit. Let's try lighting it. There's like this little turny dial up here. Now, mind you, this is compared to my head level, so I can't see what it says on the dial, and he can't see anything written on it. And we tried lighting it, and nothing happens. And he looks at it a little bit. He's like, well, this thing here, which was the thermocouple, which is like a copper tube or a copper something with a sensor that's supposed to be hot. And on the other end, it goes in. Anywho, a thermocouple needed replacing. Or he suggested that would be the most likely reason, which made perfect sense. If the pilot light goes out, then we need to stop all the gas from flowing. And so the thermocouple keeps us all safe. So I'm like, okay, great. And I look at it, it's just 2 screws. It's not that hard. I can unscrew this and I can unscrew that. I can take this to Lowe's or the local hardware store, and I can get another one and put it back in and light my fire, and I'll be done. So Friday, I go to the local hardware store first, and I asked them if they have it. They said, no, we don't have that here. I'm like, well, where can I find it? We don't know. I'm like, okay. I go across town to Lowe's, the hardware store, and I go in and I go to the furnace and the whole section there, and yes, they have a thermocouple. I'm like, yes, I'll grab it. And I pick it up, and there's 2. I'm like, well, this one looks more like mine because I brought it with me. So I get the one that looked more like mine. And I'm like, I can do this. I just took it out. I'll just put this new one in. It'll be okay. It was too short. See, this copper tubing was too far away. So I bought one that was 24 inches. And apparently mine needed to be 36. That was Friday. There's nowhere else in town that has one. I look all over online. Maybe I can drive and pick one up, but nothing. Even if I wanted to go an hour away, it wouldn't be available till Monday because they had to get it shipped. So I'm like, out of luck. Go home. I go to Amazon. Next day service. I'm like, okay, it'll be here tomorrow for Saturday. And I order it. It looks just right. I'm excited. It's going to be here. Saturday comes and goes, and I get home from a wonderful event with some lovely ladies, and it's not on the front porch, and it's not there. And I check my email, and it's been delayed, and they're going to deliver it tomorrow, i.e. Sunday, yesterday. Sunday, I did not want to get out of bed. It was 30 degrees that night. And my house has, thank God, my son-in-law put insulation in my ceiling, so it didn't get terribly cold. It only got in the low 60s, like about 60 degrees inside, but it was 30 degrees outside, and I was cold, and I didn't want to get out of my bed. But I did. And the thermocouple got delivered at 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday. And you know I was there, and I knew it was there. I snatched that thing up. I go downstairs to the basement. I start putting that thing back in. I'm like, okay, how do we do this? How do we do that? So many things, right? I put it in. Well, sort of. I get this end where the sensor is, not the part being burned. This end where the sensor is, super easy. Screwed in, done. The other end has to go in this little container thingy that's connected to the pilot light. So I have my pilot light and my sensor, and they're supposed to be together, kind of. The pilot light burns the top of the thermocouple, and it all works out, right? So it worked out great. Hi, Barbara. But I couldn't get this to stay, so I finally gave up, made it work. Anywho. Hi, Barbara. Anyway, I am telling my story about this weekend because my heat went out. The thermocouple, I've got it connected, barely, and I try to light it and it doesn't work. So I have this screwy thingy up here that I can't tell what the words are on. And I dust it off and I take a camera and I flash and I take lots of pictures of it. And I can tell on it, I don't have the picture. I can tell on it that it says, like if you imagine a dial, that it says, over on this section here, it says pilot and main, then it says on, and then it says main, and then it says off. And I'm like, okay, so I try to turn the thingy, the dial, to where it says pilot and main. Makes perfect sense. The dial doesn't turn. So I've been working on this project for 4.5 hours already. And I am trying so hard to get heat in my house. And this dial doesn't turn. It just doesn't physically move. And I look at it and I get my little step stool and I get my flashlight and I've got a camera and I've taken all these pictures. I'm trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with it. And it doesn't move. Every YouTube video I looked, and I looked at like 10, says when you start a pilot light on a furnace, you have to push something down. There's like a button to push. There's no button on my furnace. This house is 120 years old. Obviously, the house started with a chimney and a fireplace, so the furnace isn't 120 years old. It might be 50 years old. I don't know. But it doesn't have any words on it. There's no directions. The little dial, all it says is this little pilot and main on main. That's it. And it doesn't move. It's got like a physical barrier that doesn't let it turn. And I can't make it work. And on the other side, I'm like, okay, well, maybe on is somewhere else. So I try it in every position I can make it turn, and nothing works. The pilot light refuses to light, and I'm like, freaking heck, maybe my pilot light's run. And so I pull the whole thing apart again. And I take out my thermocouple, I pull out take a look at the pilot light. And I'm like, well, it's one of the YouTube videos, so maybe it's dirty. So I take a little scrapey thingy and I wipe it off and I clean it up, and yeah, it was really dirty and it was white, and so I blew it out and everything looked like it's probably good enough. So I put it all back together again. I'm like, please let it light this time. Mind you, the gas is on. I've checked that 14 times. Everything, I know where everything goes now. Like the gas goes here for the pilot light, comes around, it goes up and around for the flames. I know how this furnace works. And I'm like, I don't have any training in furnaces. I don't have any training in heat. I am a pharmacist. And I could pay someone to do it, but chances are they wouldn't even be here till day after tomorrow, Wednesday or Thursday, because this was a weekend problem. And so I try lighting it in all the different positions again. I never once smelled any gas. I'm like, this thing is not getting any gas. Why is this not getting any gas? Cassie went out. And so I'm like, what is going on? And I'm looking at this knob, and I'm taking lots of pictures, and I'm looking at the words, and nothing makes sense. It cannot physically make it to where I think the on button, where I think the connector is where I think it's supposed to be. It never can get where it looks like it's on the selection for main and pilot or on. I get frustrated. I am so mad at this thing by now. I think it's been 6 hours. I've watched at least a dozen YouTube videos. I've Googled 1,000 things. I've tried Googling this old house furnace. I've tried Googling how to start a pilot light. I've tried how to clean a pilot light, how to fix a thermocouple, everything, right? Every single time there's something to be pushed. And I'm like, there has to be something to push, and there's nothing to push. And I'm looking at the handle, the knob, which of course, like I said, is above my eye level, which isn't difficult to do, but it's still in the dark corner. There's I can just barely get my head up there to see because there's not enough room. I take pictures, a flashlight, everything. And the knob is just damaged. I'm like, what's going on with this knob? It's got scratches all over it. And my boyfriend calls me, and I'm frustrated, and I'm really frustrated. I'm really cold. I'm in my sweats, and I've got like a bandana on my head because my ears were cold. And I'm just tired, and I'm cold, and I'm sick of being tired and cold. Mostly just cold, because I hate cold. And I'm like telling him all the different things I've done and what I've done. I'm like, why are there so many scratches on that thing? And I'm like, wait a second. What makes scratches on a knob, on a metal knob? Well, it won't fit a wrench. It's not like a wrench shape or anything. And so I'm like it doesn't have like a, like what could possibly do it? And there's this little bitty, teeny little piece on the other side of the knob that I keep thinking moves. And I noticed that right away at the beginning, a long time ago, but I could never make it move because my hand's not strong enough and it just wouldn't push down. I tried using a knife, tried pushing on it, all these things. I'm like, everybody says you need to push something to start a pilot light. So I look at that knob again. I'm like, I have a wrench. So I took my wrench and I put it on the knob. And now, mind you, it's just like a regular knob. It doesn't look like a wrench should go on it. And I use it to turn the knob. And it keeps going. It keeps going further than it ever gone before over that little piece that I thought could move. And I'm like, amen, I think I got this. Now, I have the furnace right here, like literally this close to my face, like right here. And the fire is supposed to be there. I've got just enough room to put my head like right up here, and I've got a brick wall behind me because that's where the fireplace is. So there's literally only this much space between the fireplace wall from downstairs and the furnace. So this is the space I'm working in, and it's dark, except for my flashlight and my tower garden, which is lighting up the other side because I keep it down there at night in the winter because it's perfect. And then, so it's just me. I've got my little bitty stool. I've got 2 of these clicker fire starter thingies. And I've got my wrench on this thing. Finally, I didn't even put the pilot and the thermocouple back in where it belongs. So they're hanging on this tubing, one tubing for the gas for the pilot light and the copper tubing of the thermocouple. They're hanging down like right in front of me. And so I back out and I go, I'm like trying to reach the wrench to do that, get my lighter, and I light this, and the freaking thing started. Mind you, I've got my boyfriend on my ear, and I start probably cussing because I have a sailor's mouth once in a while. And I'm mad as hell because this is 6 hours in trying to fix this stupid thing. And I finally got a fire started. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not turning this fire off ever. But I know with the pilot light, it has to get the thermocouples to a different, all this stuff I learned, I didn't even need to know. Apparently I do. I've got to get, the thermocouple has to be hot enough, long enough, and stay hot in order for the gas to continue to flow to the pilot light. And if the gas is flowing to the pilot light, the gas will then also flow to the grill where it's supposed to light the furnace. So I can't turn loose of this. I can't stop the flame. I have to make sure it's hot enough. So finally I turn loose with the wrench and the fire stays on. But the fire's right here, and I need to get it on these grates that are like over here, and it's like hanging on these hard tubes, metal tubes, one copper, one something else. So it's supposed to connect to this little piece that's right here. And so finally, I just moved it carefully. I've got fire literally going on in front of me, and the thermocouple is starting to glow. It's so hot. And I put them right here, and I screw that one in, I screw the other in. Upstairs, the thermostat is on. when the thermostat's on, it wants to heat the house. I have fire going next over to where it's supposed to go, which it is the right thing to do. And all of a sudden it goes, no explosions, everything was good. But my furnace was lit. Finally. And now I know how to turn off my furnace, and now I know how to turn on my furnace, and I know how to light my pilot light, and I know my thermocouple's good, and my pilot light's good, and my heat is working in the house, and it took a couple hours to get it back to like nice instead of 60, but I have heat, and tonight the temperature's gonna be down in the 30s again. But this weekend it's gonna be 70s. Like, really, why does this happen? Anywho, I had so much mental energy put into that, I had to share. Because you guys think my life is perfect. I have the most amazing life, but it is not a perfect life. Anyway, I wanted to say hey. Hi, Robin. Hi, Lawrence over there. I think that's Lawrence. I can't tell. Anywho, you guys are awesome. I'm gonna keep this live up because this story is just something I needed to share. And I wish I could show you the pictures. I will put a couple of the pictures. I'll put one of the pictures of the actual knob up on the underneath this. But it was frustrating, but I learned so much, and my heat's working. How was your weekend? Because mine was exciting. All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for honoring me with your attention for this insane story. May your days be wonderful, and I'll talk to you later.